CURES is sponsored by Wheeler Health's Better Choice program. More at wheelerhealth.org.
Helping you lead a healthier life. This is CURES.
We are back now with CURES. I'm Kara Sundlin. Thanks for being with us as we explore cutting-edge wellness from credible sources. And we're talking about something called eco-anxiety. It's something that people have been searching for. In fact, searches have skyrocketed over 4,500% since 2018. This as more and more Americans are looking for reasons to be optimistic about our planet's future. Ani Dasgupta is president and CEO of the World Resources Institute, also author of the new book, The New Global Possible, Rebuilding Optimism in the Age of Climate Crisis. Ani, thank you for being with us. And this is the book right here. I know it's available everywhere and on WRI.org. I first want to talk about, if the term eco-anxiety is new to some folks, what exactly is it and why were you so concerned, especially as you listened to young folks?
Eco-anxiety is a worry about our future, especially connected to climate. You know, kids, everyone actually hear a lot about climate change, what's happening. It's not something in the future. It's happening around us, storms, droughts, rainfall, not where it's supposed to be. So people have been worrying about, as you said, many people. It's 4,500 times than 2018 number of searches. And it's a worry, it's a fear about the future, but it is, as psychologists look into it, it's not just fear, it's actually a worry about helplessness, not able to do something about it. And my work is very much focused about younger people to look at the bigger picture where we are and what can we do about it, both ourselves, both in our communities, in our schools, in our cities, in our government. And that's what I think is important, to give optimism back about what's happening in the world and what needs to happen.
Well, I know you said you have kids in the 20s, and I've got teenagers. You wrote this book to give young people evidence of hope. And sometimes I think we don't want to talk about what's going on because we think, do we have any hope? Or you hear that governments are choosing profits over helping the environment, different things that you definitely feel like you don't have control over. But you said the science actually is much more optimistic. Make us feel better, Ani.
It is the last 10 years, Kara, has been peculiar because the last big thing that happened on climate was the Paris Agreement in 2015, which was phenomenal. 195 countries coming together and actually saying that we need to fight together, work together to keep the world safe. Since then, actually, it's been mostly about disappointments that we're not doing this fast enough. We're not getting to where we need to go. So think about all the kids who grew up in the last 10 years, which is everyone around me, my own kids, who are in the mid-20s now, grew up during this time, and they have felt a world of disappointment, especially on climate, as climate change have actually accelerated. But if you step back, which is what the book does, and look at where we are in the world, and how far we have come. I'll give you a very concrete example. We talk about carbon and we talk about CO2 in the air. We didn't know till recently, just 20 years back, that how to measure this. And as you know, we can't do anything about something we can't measure. Now we know. We talk about gigatons, there's so many carbon in the atmosphere. This science has developed. Similarly, recently, technology for solar, wind, batteries are overperforming than even optimists like me had predicted 10 years back. So solutions are out there, and behavioral science has put together is, what are the things we can do together, but also specifically, Kara, what we can do ourselves. And I hope, and I love your show that you're focused on mental health. We focus a lot on human side of climate change. And we actually set up a behavioral science lab in our organization. And I'd love to share with you what we ourselves can do.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, some of the things that we can do, because I think it's great to know these technologies are out there, but I think some people have been frustrated thinking, oh, right now, maybe in the United States, policies are changing. We're not giving credits for electric cars anymore. There's folks who are maybe even not buying into climate change, and people are feeling like, oh gosh, well, if they're worried already, if they have eco-anxiety, then they're thinking the people in power maybe aren't doing all that they could. But you say it's really the power of the people could make a big difference, and there's little things we can do that's turning the tide.
Absolutely. We can do little things, and we can do big things together. I also want to say the political moment in the United States right now is quite different than the rest of the world. I want to encourage your viewers to not only look at the United States, but look what's happening in the world. Even in the United States, Kara, last year, 95% of new energy that was produced, new energy, was renewable. That was similar, true across the world. So things are actually happening under the surface we don't see. But let's focus on what we can do. Actually, there are quite a few things we can do ourselves. And our scientists in our organization looked at 19 such things that we can do, you and I could do, and our kids could do, and try to evaluate, what is more effective than for climate, just for climate. So, for example, one of the most effective things is not flying, taking a train when you can. That is among climate-wise, it's actually one of the most effective things. The second is eating less meat, not just going vegan, just eating less meat, having a meatless Monday, maybe meatless Tuesday, or walking rather than taking your car when you can. Sometimes you can't. If you live in a remote place, you can't walk to where you need to go, but sometimes you can. But if you go to our website, www.org, you'll see the things we can do that has real impact. But some things, Kara, is not possible to do just our own. Like you can't just on our own have better public transport. That's when we need to work with our city and our school. I love the examples of schools, though, Kara. And this is a really good example from Kentucky. In the United States, 20 million kids take a diesel bus or a bus to school, like a school bus, the yellow school bus that everyone knows about.
For sure, of course.
And
kids are riding in them every day. I do know we're experimenting in Connecticut with some electric buses.
I know.
So that's making a big difference in Kentucky.
It is. We're actually working with people in Connecticut. But let me give you this example in Kentucky because I find it very exciting how all of us together need to work on this. In Kentucky, they've started using electric buses. And immediately, the drivers who drive these buses have been reporting less headache from lack of diesel fumes. Diesel fumes that actually come inside the bus is very, very poisonous in multiple ways. Kids are calmer inside buses. Already report, this is just the initial few months of it. But the more interesting thing is the school is saving money by running electric buses than diesel buses. And they've used the money to actually increase teachers' salaries. Who does not want higher teacher salaries? So it is the parents, actually parents push for this, who want their kids to actually be safer, healthier, not inhale diesel. Kids, parents, bus drivers, school district together, and the teachers together are creating a solution. And the reason the solution is sticking even now, is simply because it's better for people, it's better for our kids. And that is the message for most things for climate. We've been talking too much about carbon and not enough about our health. It's better for air quality, better for clean water, better for food that doesn't destroy nature, better for us to have greenery around our cities. All these things I just mentioned are actually also good for climate. So we need to talk about climate change or the actions we need to take. And the book has 65 stories like that. The New Global Possible is about making it better for people. And I think that's the trick we are missing. We're talking too much about climate and not enough about people.
Right, and we are the people living on the planet. But you mentioned that you've done some work with Connecticut. I think our viewers would be interested if there's anything special. We like to think of ourselves as strong on climate here compared to maybe other states. But what are some things going on, if you know, in Connecticut that are good stories to tell?
So you are definitely strong on climate. The thing that we actually working across the country in the school districts, including Connecticut and New York, and I just mentioned Kentucky to you, but across 50 states, including Connecticut, actually there's been a push to get school buses to get electric. And it is for the reason I mentioned. It's not just for climate, it's good for kids and kids' health. Yeah. And it's interesting, then we looked at the data, Kara, that kids who ride school buses, the 20 million kids I talked about, also are more likely to come from, poorer or marginal communities. So this is the reason I'm excited about this. Normally when we have a new technology, electric school bus is new technology, we always end up deploying it to the richest school first. That's normal because they can afford it. But the federal government policy till recently, not currently, till recently, was to actually test whether we can get the new technology to poorer and marginal communities, and very successfully so. So in Connecticut, across, I don't remember actually the school districts we're working in, the school buses. I hope your listeners are connecting what I'm saying to their electric school buses in the school districts in New York. Both states have put in money to actually add to the federal grants to actually increase accelerated change in school buses.
Yeah, which is amazing. You said New York City has done little things like transform their asphalt yards
Oh my,
into
that's
beautiful green
amazing.
spaces, and that makes a big difference in the climate.
It's an amazing story. After Sandy, people were trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with floodwaters? And New York City was one of the cities that had least amount of green space available per capita for kids. So this initiative, but the school district for Trust for Public Lands came together, actually took the school district, the yard. If you remember, if anyone's been in New York City, you'll see they're mostly asphalt because it's very difficult to maintain grass in these some of these inner city schools and schools across. So they worked with the school kids. I just want to underline this, with the school kids. They designed outdoor space so not only you could play there, learn there, have classes there, but the surface was porous so that it could become a huge drain when it rained or flooded. So you could bring water to that area, use it as a big sink. And this way, not only it became cooler because they put a lot of trees, it protected us from climate change and created a wonderful new place for kids to play. And I wish I could show you pictures. I mean, just amazing transformation across New York City. One of the most interesting things that has happened. Again, it was started for climate, but the result is better study area, better playing place, cooler yard, and cooler schools for the kids. That is, so things we need to do. We need to focus more on how is it good for people, and that's how things will become popular and embraced. And that's why I think kids will get a sense they can do something about it and not feel hopeless that, climate is happening, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, for those who might be just hopping on and listening to our feed or watching on WFSB Plus, I just want to reintroduce you. Ani Dasgupta is the president and CEO of the World Resources Institute, WRI. He is also an author of a new book called The New Global Possible, and it's in response to what we're seeing as a trend that's really impacting mental health right now, which is eco-anxiety. You can learn a lot more about this. You mentioned pictures. I know you've got a lot of resources on WRI.com. But if we're a parent and we're talking about our children's mental health, would you say it's safe to say that a lot of our young people are really suffering because of eco-anxiety?
I think so. I mean, if you look at data, which we look at carefully, you already mentioned people searching for eco-anxiety themselves, thousands, 4,500 times. But there was a research done in 10 countries, not just the United States, across. 60% of kids responded they're worried about climate change. 85, they're worried a lot about climate change, and 85% of kids said they're worried about climate change. So this is something that kids worry about. I'll tell you a story. I was recently in Brazil, just 6 months back, and I was there. We have a big team there, and we were sitting together, and I was meeting with about 100 of our staff, a lot of young staff. And one of them was asked me something about, she was just about to have a baby, and what do I have to say about her child. And so we talked about it. Then suddenly someone said, I'm worried about having a child, which I've never heard myself before because of this anxiety. And then I asked, how many of you think that? And quite a few of young men and women raised their hands. So this is a real worry. The solution to that, Kara, is ability to take action. The worry is not just it's happening in the world. Worry is that we cannot do something about it. It's a big problem.
Yeah.
National government needs to solve it, or other people need to solve it. I think the solution to this, and if any parents watching here, is actually convert the fear into action. Actually think about things you can do. You can actually go plant a tree. You can actually walk when you don't need to use a car. You can choose to actually help insulate your house, so use less energy, or talk to your parents about where the energy is coming from, or eat less meat. These are every step of these things actually is taking action to reduce the carbon footprint of the earth. And together, we also need to do the other thing, actually be active in community, active in our school, encourage ourselves, if we can vote, our parents to vote for people who actually will do something about climate. Everything is not solvable at a personal level, but a lot is doable at a personal level. I think the key here, Kara, is to allow people to take charge and do something about it and create that fear into hope. And the reason I titled the book Optimism, I think optimism is a very important thing. Optimism is the ability to think about a more positive future. And I feel that's like a little bit of a boost to our heart, our soul constantly. It allows us to do more, allows us to imagine better, allows us to think about what we need to do together. So optimism is opposite of doomsday scrolling and fear, but I think it's critical for all of us.
Yeah.
Because we have to do more. I mean, this is where we are as a planet is not necessarily where we want to be.
74% of Americans, according to your studies, want more climate action. You're looking at it from a global view. You say a lot of countries are doing really well, maybe even outside the United States. Are we not doing well right now, or are you having any talks with, you mentioned how it's good for our health. Has RFK Jr. or anyone in the Trump administration, are you feeling any hope in that department, or it's more on a global scale?
United States has done a lot of good things for many, many years. Just to be, I mean, for example, as I said, even recently till last year, United States, 95% of energy was renewable. That was new energy that was produced. United States and cities are doing amazing things across the country. Your question was about the federal government. At this point, we're having difficulty, to be honest, to have conversation about climate with the federal government. But there are cities and states we are working with constantly across the country, both on energy, both on school buses, both on efficiency. So it's United States right now is a complicated picture. But if you look at the world, though, across the world, things are happening. For logical reason, the United States produces a lot of petroleum and natural gas. Most countries in the world don't, right? Only few regions in the world actually have petroleum or natural gas, which is North America, the Middle East, and Russia for long-term reserves. For all the other countries, producing renewable energy is not only good for climate, it's good for the economy, it's good for energy security. Countries like India, Indonesia, countries like Brazil, China, Kenya, South Africa. So it is good for some time to just step back and look at what's happening in the world and what can be learned from each other.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, the United States right now might have different federal policy, but historically, it's been a kind of ahead of the curve in kind of embracing climate-related policies.
Okay, we're going to take a moment right now and hear from one of our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the simple things that you can do and encourage your family to do to alleviate eco-anxiety and feel more in control of your environment. Let's take a listen.
Struggling with gambling? Wheeler Health's Better Choice program offers personalized support and treatment to help you regain control. Visit wheelerhealth.org to learn more and take the first step towards recovery today.
Welcome back. Ani Dasgupta is the president and CEO of World Resources Institute, author of the new book. We can put it on the screen here, The New Global Possible. We're talking about calming eco-anxiety, and this is a book that you can get anywhere, but it actually talks about some positive things. And regardless of what's going on a global scale, where we may feel very not in control of what world leaders do, Ani is with us, and he's talking about simple things. One of the things you've mentioned a couple times in this interview is reducing your consumption of meat. And I hear that, but why is that so important? When people hear, why don't you have a meatless Monday, and that can make a big difference for the climate. Why is that?
It is because to produce meat from animals, whether cows or lamb, it is actually not only these animals, especially cows, that produces beef, produces a lot of methane as just naturally as animals. That itself is it's produces as part of what causes actually climate-related gases. So that's one part. But the energy required, the calories required to produce beef compared to, say, vegetables or fruits, it's that much more CO2 involved per unit of calories. So when you do food science and you look at food, you look at per calorie how much CO2 is produced. And if you did a pyramid of what produces most, so beef would be on top of it, and then will be lamb and chicken and things like that, all animal-based products, and plant-based products will be in the bottom of it. So that's why when people say to reduce, and also for produce beef, it requires a lot of land, which is under pressure because you need to produce food on those lands. So the reason people mention, and you must have heard many times, of reducing beef is simply a unit of calories from beef actually has the highest amount of carbon footprint. So even reducing, that's what I say, you don't have to become a vegetarian or vegan, even reducing it. See, if you have 10 meals of beef, if you just reduce 4 of them, that itself has a huge impact on climate change or carbon emissions. That's why it comes up. And as you know, some cultures, it's not true in all cultures, food is very connected to our culture, our histories, our memories. So changing food habit is difficult for most places in the world. So that's why people mention it, and that's why I always say, it's not a switch. You don't have to just on and off. You could reduce it and test out whether that works for your family or not.
Yeah, well, we know it's very expensive right now in the United States. But when you say stop eating or lessen your eating meat, do you mean just red meat, or are you also talking about chicken, turkey?
Red meat has the most, so it's a pyramid, right? The red meat, meaning beef, if you meant beef, that has the most, then lamb and chicken has less. But all of them, and fish is different, seafood is different.
Okay.
Red meat comes up, but meat-based, all kinds of meats have CO2 more than plant-based. That's the bigger message. In the meats, red meat has most CO2 than others. So it is about moderation. It is about reducing. It is about, remember, Kara, food is like if you're my family, food is the most important thing that happens in my family. We still eat together all the time. So bringing new ideas and new ways of eating is a gradual family thing. And I think kids can be a real, what's the right word? Kind of bring in new ideas and actually get families to slowly change habits. Changing habits in food, I think, is kind of tricky and difficult, and we should embrace that.
It's interesting, too, that, as you say, we can focus not always just on climate change, but what's good for us health-wise, which we talk a lot about optimal wellness on this show. So we have plenty of episodes where people go back and look at the Mediterranean diet of helping us with all chronic disease. So eating more fruits and veggies and being more fish-based or more plant-based and using meat in a smaller quantity, organic, all of that is better for us too. So what you're saying is often when we ask what's good for the planet, it's also good for us.
I love you said that. I mean, just forget for a minute about the planet. Just healthy eating, what you just said, using less meat, using more legumes, eating more veggies, fruits, nuts, all the things that are mentioned in Mediterranean diet, any such diet, eating more fish, that's good for us, right? I mean, I think that I want us to think more about what's good for us. It will turn out most of the time, it's also good for the planet. I mean, a very different example, Kara, is that in a city, I live in Washington, D.C., and walking, taking a bike, or taking a bus is actually good for the city. It reduces congestion, reduces carbon footprint, not using the car. It also happens to be good for us.
Yeah.
We walk around more, we are healthier. And people have done studies of European cities where, public transport is much more consumed than it consumes in the United States cities. People are healthier simply because of the walking and physical exercise connected with those activities.
Absolutely.
So
My
I
daughter's
hope
not
people
far
can
from.
talk more about that.
Yeah, my daughter's not far from you. She's at the University of Maryland, and she'll say, I'm walking like
Oh,
30,000 steps a day. She's walking everywhere.
see?
And right, and a lot of us, we don't have the opportunity. I couldn't walk to my work, but I'll try and go walk for a lunch. But yeah, so getting more steps in. Now, let me ask you about something that I feel like we're pushing to do more of. We've got our big blue cans outside, and I'm constantly telling my kids to put the things in the right can. But actually, recycling is not as impactful as we might think. Not that we shouldn't do it, but it's not as big on your list.
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry you raised that because this is one of the favorite things for people to do because people can do, and we put a lot of energy and we should be recycling. But if you look at carbon footprint of recycling, it is not really high up. And the 19 things we looked at that we could do ourselves, recycling was pretty much in the bottom or near bottom, if I remember correctly, which might disappoint a lot of your listeners because I think every one of us actually participates in a recycling program. And I'm not saying we should not, we should, but it does not have anywhere near the footprint of taking a train instead of flying, or eating less meat, or walking, or not using electric cars, or any of such things, which it's kind of counterintuitive, but that is true, Cara.
Yeah.
Thank you for raising it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to disappointed avid recyclers.
Well, I mean, we'll keep doing it, but
yes, keep doing it. Exactly.
The end of our time
Exactly.
together, Ani. Thank you for being here. I want to put the book up one more time. Let people know about the new Global Possible. If you have any young people in your life who are feeling anxious, this is a book about optimism and things that have already been done, and really about how we take what we already know and launch it on a global scale. You can find it at WRI.org, but you can also find it wherever books are sold. Ani, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Let anyone know, I guess they can find you at WRI.org with some good ideas.
They can.
All right, we appreciate
Thank
you
you
being
for having
here.
me, Cara.
Thank you. And for everyone at home and streaming, thank you for watching Kara's Cures, where we cover cutting-edge wellness from credible sources. Have a great day and be well.
CURES, sponsored by Wheeler Health's Better Choice program. More at wheelerhealth.org.